It's not easy to establish yourself outside of your firm identity, but I do think it's important to do, especially for people of color and women.
All right. So, welcome to the You Are Lawyer podcast. Sara Williams, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I am really excited. I'm really, really excited. I've been following you for like 4 or 5 years, and I don't remember what event it was at, but you made this comment about you work really hard, it's really important to you, and you have a desk in your office for your daughter.
Yes, that was the Ali Awad's
Okay,
conference.
CEO lawyer.
Yeah, CEO lawyer. Yes, I have, she's outgrown that desk. I had to give it away.
Yeah, but I love that statement because you said it's really important to me that she sees that I work for all the stuff that we have. I'm not trying to hide that from her like it just happens magically. So, would you tell us all about why you put that desk in your office back when she could fit it?
So I have one child and she is amazing. But it was important to me to continue to work, but I also think that it was important for her not only to see that I worked, right? That like things just didn't magically appear at our home, but also for her to feel comfortable in the space that is our law office. And I teach at a law school. She has grown up at that law school. If I'm hosting a competition, I brought her to the courthouse with me. Like when I was in law school, I felt like there was a very clear difference between those of us who were first generation lawyers being in and navigating the space. And that lawyers' kids were just naturally more comfortable networking and making decisions about, where to clerk and not being crazy freaked out if their grades weren't straight A's or whatever. And so I wanted to make sure she knows I'm working, but two, I wanted to go ahead and get her acclimated to being in the space. Like I want her to grow up knowing that she deserves to be in these spaces and then it's natural for her.
Yeah, I love that. So, does this mean you want her to be a lawyer, or has she mentioned that she wants to be a lawyer?
I mean, I'm on the fence because the industry is changing so much. She says she wants to be a judge so she can be my boss. But now that she's getting older, she's 11 now, she is really gearing more towards like counseling and social work. And she really enjoys, I think she'll probably end up being like a psychotherapist or either that or like animal physical therapist or something. But, you never know. I would love for her to be a lawyer, but I'm not trying to like force her to be.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. I remember I have a little girl and she'll be 4 this summer. And, I've seen all the people that say, my mini me, my mini me. She is not my mini me. I mean, she and I do a couple things similar, but I want her to definitely be her own person, right? I definitely want her to grow up and do the things that she enjoys. She's comfortable with me doing the things that I enjoy and let that be.
I get to teach a lot of my like I'm getting to the age where my friends' kids are going to law school. Sometimes it can be a huge hindrance to these kids to try to live up to the expectations of their parents, and try to emulate who their parents are, and try like I'm like you're not your dad. You're not going to try cases like your dad, right? You got to figure out how to try your case like you. And so that has made me think, okay, maybe that will be too much pressure for her to feel like I have to follow in my mother's footsteps.
Yeah, I know. But she has time to figure it out and you'll be there to help her. So, yes. So, Sara, you've mentioned a couple of times that you're teaching right now. Is that at Samford?
Yes, I teach at Sanford at Cumberland School of Law.
Okay. And so, what courses or sections do you teach, and how long have you been doing that?
So I've been teaching for 13 years. I started off teaching as an adjunct. Cumberland has a really amazing advocacy program. And so I was a basic skills and trial advocacy adjunct, and I coach mock trial teams. This year, I have served as the visiting director of advocacy. So I oversee all of the advocacy programs, the moot court, ADR, all of our courses that we offer. And so I do that. And then I also teach basic skills in trial advocacy, and I co-teach a deposition skills class. And then in the fall, I'll teach the course I developed, which is advanced in trial advocacy civil.
Okay. And so what made you want to develop that advanced course? Were you just seeing that, students needed to go deeper than what they were, the basic skills?
The school always had an advanced skills class, but it was combined. And so I proposed, by the time you're in your third year, you likely know if you're going to go criminal or civil. And the skills are different. And if you want to really drill down and graduate students who are practice ready, you've got to be able to hone in on skills. It's very difficult in one semester to teach both and have them prepared for both. And so we decided to split the course into advanced criminal and advanced civil.
Gotcha. I love that. And I like that phrase, being practice ready, because I was not practice ready when I got out of law school. And I went into transactional law and I was like, okay, I like reading and writing, but I still was not practice ready. So I love that.
Absolutely. And that's the goal of our courses, like our depositions class. We bring in, when we can find them, court reporters to create transcripts. We have them draft mediation position statements. Like, there are things, it's like, I know these are things you're going to do as a first year, and I want to be able to add value to your degree, but also to add value for our legal community, to say, listen, please hire our students. If you hire students who have taken these courses, this is what they can do. They'll still need guidance, but at least they have, it's not like they've never seen it before,
Which is important, which is very important. Okay. So, to anyone that is familiar with Sara Williams, you might think I've been burying the lead because you own a law firm. You're wildly successful. Can you talk to us about what made you go to law school and why you decided to open your own firm?
So it's interesting. So I actually work at a firm.
Oh, okay.
But I have branded myself as a firm within the firm. Clearly been successful because everyone is like, yeah, so you're solo. It's like, no. I like to have my overhead paid for. But I went to law school only because I was an English major and I didn't know what to do. And I knew I didn't want to teach. I'm very introverted. And so my plan was to go transactional. And then a mentor of mine at Cumberland said, hey, I think you should, compete in the freshman competition. Like, you don't know what you'll like. You've never done this stuff before. And I did. And I was like, oh, this I love. Like, it combines, being creative and oral advocacy. And my coach at the time really created a very comfortable, safe environment where I finally felt like, this is where I can be me. I can be strong. I can be soft. I can be all of the things that I am. And that is celebrated and desired. And that is, what I'm being encouraged to be so that I can be a good lawyer. And so really my journey, even though I think, whatever you believe in, I believe that I attended Cumberland for a reason, and it really helped shape my career because I had no idea what I was going to do when I went. I didn't want to teach, right?
Which is ironic because you are teaching. You didn't want to teach English?
I did not want to teach children. I think that it is funny. Like, I knew I didn't want to be like an English teacher, and when you were an English lit major, it's really not like you're either going to get your PhD and become a professor, or you're going to, go the education route and teach, or, write. And, back then, I think parents are much more encouraging now of creatives. But back when I was growing up, it's like you had to get a real job, I could not have told my parents I wanted to be an author, and they thought, I would pay my rent.
No, I understand that. I definitely understand. Okay, so you are self-branded grouping within a larger law firm.
Yes.
Is that something that you had seen before, or were you one of the first people to do that, or are you just doing it so successfully that,
So I had not seen it before, and did not plan on doing it. My firm owner, who was a great mentor of mine, I managed our firm for 3 years, and then really didn't want to continue in management. And so we were sitting around one night, and he said, we really should just brand you separately, because I think there are people who probably don't hire the firm because maybe they aren't as attracted to him, but who would be more attracted to hiring you. And I think that could be successful. And so we just started, and we've been experimenting with it. And I think now you see a lot of other lawyers doing it. I think you have to have a good relationship. I think you have to be open about money. I think you have to have open lines of communications. Like, it's not easy to establish yourself outside of your firm identity, but I do think it's important to do, especially for people of color and women.
Yeah. I mean, well, if we can be honest, being a lawyer is not easy. It can be a very, very stressful job, right? People come to lawyers because they can't figure out their issue on their own. They need an outside party. So I think for you to have had the 3 years experience managing the firm, and you're like, okay, I kind of get it, but I feel like that was like, it's all stepping stones to get you to where you are now. You've seen what the management side looked like to be like, okay, I don't want all of this, but I'll just take my own brand within.
That's right. Like, I don't managing lawyers is like, um, I think you have to have a special heart for that. And it was, I will say, it was, I think, necessary at the time. Like, it was definitely important for me to step into that role and help usher my firm into a new era of the firm and through some growth. But for me personally, it ran its course. And I think the next natural step really would have been owning my own firm. But I love the lawyers I practice with. Like, I love having that community. I love being able to bounce things off and try cases and handle cases with people I practice with, some for my entire career. And so it really was a fix for, and Alex didn't want me to leave either. It's like, how can we fix this so that you feel like you have um, some sort of individuality and autonomy, but you also feel still a part of this larger group.
Yeah, I love that. And that doesn't happen all the time, right? Where you really enjoy the people that you're working with, they enjoy and value you. And they're like, well, what can we do to make this work? Okay. So you got to know, I'm on the outside listening to the story. And I'm like, okay, she's an introvert. She didn't want to teach, and she's teaching. She's managing all these people. Do you feel like you are that same person as when you went into law school, or has being a lawyer stretched you to the point where you're able to do all these different things and do them so well?
I think I've grown so much, and I think that it's important to not put yourself in a box. Like, I think so many of us go, okay, I am this, and so I'm limited in what I can do, and I won't experiment with things that I'm uncomfortable with. And so I think doing the mock trial was my first time experimenting with something that I was uncomfortable with. And I was like, oh, wait, I'm a shy person, but I can succeed in this thing. Like, maybe I'm not as introverted as I think I am. Like, maybe I'm an ambivert. Like, and maybe when it comes to certain things, I like to stretch my, interactions with people. And even with managing, like, I had been a partner at a defense firm prior to joining the firm I'm with, but I had not managed lawyers. But I was like, look, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe I'm bad at it, and then I won't do it anymore. And so, yeah, I believe in stretching yourself and doing the things that make you uncomfortable. They won't always you won't always like them, right? And then you realize, okay, that is definitely on the no list. And then there are things you'll find like, okay, this fits me, and this is part of a new me. Like I believe we are always continuing to grow. Like who I am today won't be who I am in 2 years.
It's a really good lesson for lawyers and law students to catch because when I got out of law school, I was done learning. I just learned it all. I just got a doctorate in jurisprudence. I'm done, right? And it took me
Right.
about 3 years to realize I knew nothing. And that like opened up the world to me. And it's so crazy to think that I had all this formal education, but I still was missing so much, right? Because the word change was like a curse word to me. What do you mean change?
Law school is the entry ticket to the industry, and that's it. And then it's like you graduate and it really begins.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
There was so much I didn't know. It just didn't even make sense, right? Like I knew I would go to a firm and then maybe you would get a mentor who would show you, but then like the communication style is different when you're actually out of school.
Some law firms do not do a good job of saying, okay, you know nothing, right? Here's how you're going to figure it out. You just like, I remember taking my first deposition. A partner had double booked himself and he just handed me an outline and I had to walk in and take the deposition. And I was like, okay, and so I do think that law firms can do a better job of recognizing the gap between the knowledge that law schools provide and what is really needed to be successful in the practice, um, and help develop processes for really teaching everyone. Because I do think that there are some people in law firms that get ushered in and guided along and then end up being successful, right? And then there are those who are expected to ask for the guidance and then they really don't know who to ask and what to ask for.
Yeah, I can see that too. Even though we're in the same place, we have completely different perspectives and situations going on. So,
Yep.
okay. So, Sarah, this podcast, the audience of the podcast is law students or younger lawyers, 5 years practicing or less. What would you say to them about what they can do with their law degrees?
Oh man, I've seen so much. Like I have a student who was on my trial teams, but now she like reviews. You know Cameron Monet. She reviews influencer contracts, and she just moved to New York. And I've had students who've developed apps for case management. Like I believe that the world is your oyster with the law degree. The key is to figuring out what you really enjoy doing and what makes you happy and not getting into a job because people tell you that's what you should do. You've graduated, you should go to this firm, you should bill these hours, you should make partner, you should, then want to get into management. Like that may not make you happy, and it's okay to get a job in that, and if it doesn't make you happy, to pivot and do something else. I was an insurance defense lawyer for years doing car wreck defense, and I wanted to do something else, so I went to another firm and I started doing trucking defense, and I really loved it. And then I bounced around some more and realized I really didn't want to be a defense lawyer, and so I've been a plaintiff's lawyer now. But I'm also a professor, right? And I teach, and I also, travel the country and do some motivational speaking. I think the important thing is that you can create whatever type of you can create a situation that makes you feel fulfilled and happy as a lawyer, and the world is really your oyster if you can drown out the noise of the people telling you what you should do and what you're supposed to do and what you have to do and what lawyers normally do and what it looks like. You decide what it looks like. And don't be afraid to bounce around until you figure that out.
Okay. So that's usually my last question. I have one little short follow-up because you said find what makes you happy. Are lawyers allowed to be happy while working?
I think that that's another thing that people like. I think that the industry and historically, you're essentially socialized to believe that you cannot be happy as a lawyer, that it is an industry where we are. And I think the reason why is because we get stuck doing things that we don't like doing. And we get stuck worrying about what everyone else thinks about us and what people will think about our moves. And oh, I remember when I started branding myself, people approached Alex and said, do you know Sarah's doing this? Are you allowing her to do this? And he was like, I don't allow her to do anything. But our industry is slower than other industries to be innovative. And so including when it comes to wellness and happiness. And so I believe that we have to be almost like activists about it, and we have to decide that we deserve to be happy, even if that means shedding some of the traditional aspects of what we do.
Yes, I love that. That question was burning at me. I was like, be happy in law. You don't hear that very often. I mean,
yeah, if you're somewhere where you're not happy, leave.
Leave, switch sides, right? You can do defense, you can go to plaintiff's work, switch your practice group.
That's right.
I love that. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Sara Williams. And Sarah, I will see you around on Instagram.
Absolutely.